Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Steven here. Steven, you're the CEO of Belkin, which is an incredibly important company to the world of electronics and just devices, wherever they are. I mean, you guys produce some of the most incredible cases, and they have, different features with them. It comes to, for batteries, for standing them, and then you also have battery packs. You've got everything you need for electronics and different devices. And it's super comprehensive and really high quality. And I've been somebody who has Belkin products for years. I mean, for 10 plus years. And they've always really held up well. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and have the chance to talk to you about this stuff. Of course, I love it. I live it and breathe it every day. So it's going to be fun to talk about.
Awesome. So just kind of going back to the beginning, like how did your interest in the space that you're in now kind of start? What attracted you to want to be at Belkin and, have this incredible 20 plus year journey to now leading the company? Like what made you so interested in this space?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story, I think, right? I mean, I started off as a sales guy. I was working hard to try and solve problems for my customers. And I was doing it in a few different spaces. I worked at a startup here. I worked at a startup there. I was working for a company that was based remotely in Minnesota at the time, which is a fantastic organization. But just didn't feel like I was plugged in well enough to the corporate headquarters, and I wanted to stay in Southern California. I love living in California. It's a great place to be. And so I had been watching the market to see who might fit with the kind of mentality that I had. I wanted to solve problems for people. And so I targeted Belkin. I approached Belkin. I went after it to try and find a job there. And I got a job as a national sales account manager, calling on our biggest distribution accounts. This is largely in the B2B space, which is the background of Belkin, kind of the historical start of what we do. And this is desktop solutions, data center solutions, cabling, power products, that sort of thing. And over time, I learned about that business. I had an opportunity to move into our retail space, which was amazing. We have some of the largest retail customers in the world, and those relationships are really treasured for us. So I did that for a few years, and then I had an opportunity to move to Europe. So I moved to Europe and ran our businesses in Europe. I had an opportunity to move to Asia, so I moved to Asia. And then, true to my long-term goal, I wanted to be in Southern California, and I had an opportunity to come back here. And over the course of that journey, I've been really fortunate because when you live in those places, you have an opportunity to immerse yourself in the culture there, really deeply understand the differences in those markets, our teams around the world. And of course, I was mentored through that process by our founder, Chet Pipkin, who has been a great, advocate for me and really helped me get myself ready for the position I'm in now. I've been in the CEO of Belkin for about 5 years.
Mhm. So when you got involved in Belkin, you mentioned there was this cabling. I mean, there was more like the B2B business. Was the
Yeah.
accessories business a thing at that point, and how did that become what it is today?
Boy, 20 years ago, did any of us have a mobile device like a cell phone that we were carrying
Right.
around with us? When I was starting, we were still at certain moments required to pull over to put quarters in the phone to call back to the office to give an update on our latest sales call. One of the things that Belkin has been really great at over the years, and it's why we've been able to thrive and survive for the last 42 plus years. We've identified these spaces and emerging spaces. What are consumers going to use? What are the devices that they're going to need? And then how can we complement those experiences? So when I first got here, you're right. We did not have a mobile power business, which is our biggest business today. But we identified those trends, invested to understand through consumer insights practices what consumers need, put our design resources on it, engineered those products, and we think came up with some pretty interesting innovations to complement the hero experiences of those devices. And now, it's one of our biggest businesses today.
Mhm. So, as you went through the different roles you had at Belkin over time, when did the opportunity kind of come about that for you to really lead the company, and why do you think that you were the right person and the right fit at that point?
Well, I think as I was moving around to those roles in Europe and in Asia, I had the opportunity to broaden my scope
Mhm.
beyond solely being responsible for sales and revenue and profitability and all those sorts of things. So being able to understand more of the operational elements of the business, understand the dynamic supply chain related things we need to deal with, And through all those experiences, I was just kind of gathering learnings that I could then apply to my way of working and to my style. And through that process, I think we had some pretty good performance. I think it earned the opportunity to be targeted or identified as somebody who had the potential to take a broader leadership position. And when I came back to the U.S., I guess that was almost 10 years ago now, I was given an opportunity to largely lead the Belkin segment of the business. Now, I wasn't the only person involved at the leadership level, but through that process, I was able to learn more and apply those learnings and take on more responsibility and increase my capacity. And that's kind of where and that's how I ended up where I am today.
Hmm. Did you guys always have this kind of, I guess, relationship with Apple? Where, how did that relationship start? Because I think it's been so crucial to what you guys have been doing. You have these amazing accessories that are always designed for the next latest and greatest Apple product. They perfectly complement them, but they do things that Apple doesn't always do in these categories. How did that whole relationship come about? And
Yeah,
go.
we invest a lot of time, effort, and energy in our partnerships, and we've got partnerships with some of the premier companies in the world. And I think right now you're zeroing in on a device partner, which is
Yeah.
really a critical relationship for us. But we have those relationships with manufacturers. We have those relationships with chipset makers. All those things contribute to our ability to understand what's coming next. So it's not just one thing that gets us there. It's many things, including our own consumer insights practice, that help us identify where the trends are going. Of course, the relationship that we hold with Apple is a very close one for us. We've worked with them for many, many, many years, way back to when Steve Jobs was introducing some of these first products and needed to have a voice recorder for the new iPod that was coming out. Those sorts of things have been treasured moments for us, where we were able to work closely to solve or create or enhance the experience around these devices. One of the ones that we made was a battery backup. You brought up battery backups at the beginning of this. We made one for those devices, for those iPod devices way back when, that was coupled with an iPod that went to space. So that was one of the really fun early projects that we did together. And through trust and collaboration, we've been able to work pretty closely together over the years. And, we never take that lightly. We need. Sorry about that. We need to deliver high quality products that are well suited for the market. And, that's the path that we're on, and we want to earn it every day.
Hmm. So, as the iPhone and mobile devices kind of came out and you shifted towards accessories, how was that transition for the business? Because I think you were there at that time watching it change. Is accessories now the most important part of Belkin and all these different partners you have, like Apple and others?
I think accessories were part of the business way back when. They just looked a little different. So mobile device accessories is a primary part of our business, and the way that we've always thought about it is more of an and situation for us. So we want to accessorize conference rooms. We want to accessorize desktops, and we want to have hubs and chargers, and that whole experience needs to be brought together in the right way. And there's been so much convergence and crossover in the way that you use your mobile devices, in the way that we work, how we work at home, how we work at the office, how we work in the car, all those things coming together. The lines are much more blurred there than they've ever been in the past. And so we spend our time, effort, and energy really to identify where the trends are going and where the problems are that people are having that they want to solve. And that's where the magic happens for us. When that comes together, like, oh my gosh, I've got a need and I've got a gap, and Belkin can help me close that gap by creating the latest wireless charging with magnetic attach associated with it that's going to be perfectly aligned every time and is going to charge at the fastest speed. That is magic for us. And, it happens across all those spaces. It happens in the data center today. It happens in a conference room that I'm in right now. And it happens, of course, for all of us in the way that we're handling our mobile devices every day. And we don't see it slowing down anytime soon. I think there's always talk about, how long are people holding onto their devices now? That's an opportunity. How do you extend the life of these things? How do you make sure that they're always charged? How do you make sure that they're protected? All those things fitting together. We think we're in a really good position to be able to continue to provide solutions people are going to love.
Yeah. Yeah, I did want to get into like the design aspect because the reason I gravitate towards Belkin is the design is really high quality always, and it complements the device and whatever you use in a really seamless and organic way, and it feels good. It's not something that feels cheap generally.
Mhm.
So how do you think about like designing new products, and is it important for you guys to be in California near so much of the Silicon Valley, just tech ecosystem, to be around these companies as they're maybe making products or being developed so you can design best?
We think it matters and we think it's important and we think it leads to some of the best products that are available on the market today. You know, we we think about this design for California concept in a very material way. We've got a lot of really experienced, high quality individuals in our offices that are thinking about these things. They're much smarter than me, much more talented than I am. That's for sure. To help us create these things. Um, when and if you have an opportunity to come visit us in person, you'll get to see how our process works. It starts with consumer insights. We want to understand how people want to use these products. Then it moves into an idea, maybe on a whiteboard, just a quick sketch on a whiteboard. And some of the 3D design drawings that I see that are just sketched out on a whiteboard here, I'm just blown away with how amazing and talented our people are. But then it turns into, what do we do with that? If we really like the idea, then we take it into the labs and we prototype it, we engineer it, we test it, we come up with an actual physical object that you can hold in your hands, sometimes within days, to see what those things look like. And of course, we work with manufacturers to build those things, but we prototype those things here so we can see it. And then we test it like crazy. We've got all sorts of capabilities within our offices to make sure that the products that we're bringing to market are going to uphold the Belkin quality standards. But because to your point, there's a lot of people in our spaces, and how do we differentiate? It's going to be through design. It's going to be through the premium nature of the solutions that we bring to market, the way it looks, the way it touches your hands, the way you interact with it, the way that it feels, and how it performs over time. So quality really matters for us. It comes from extensive testing. But really, I think the main thing is it starts with the mentality that we have here. We need to be different. We need to be differentiated. We stand for premium and we stand for quality. And that's what you should expect from a Belkin product every time you interact with it.
Stephen, how do you kind of empower the people that work with you to be creative? Because, like, I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I had a charger, a Belkin charger, like the dock piece that would rotate. And it used to be, if you had a more powerful one, you almost took up both the socket slots. But this one you could rotate around and it was like really intuitive. And I like that I could just do it and I could have multiple things plugged in at the same point. How do you have this creative culture in your company that enables people to come up with ideas like that?
One of the things that we talk about here a lot is that the best ideas can come from anywhere in our organization. It can come from the engineering team, it can come from the design team, it can be feedback that we receive from the field, from some of our partners that are in Asia or in Australia or in Europe or right down the street in Hawthorne or El Segundo. Like the best ideas come from everywhere. And so we just foster that culture. We want the best ideas. The best ideas are going to be the ones that we go with. And it can come from any level in our organization. It doesn't matter, anywhere in the world. Everybody in our organization has that mentality. And I think that we've seen it happen so many times where an idea will come from this person or from that person. And then 6 months later, a year and a half later, we've got that product in the market. And so people have seen it happen. So they know it's possible here. And we love that part of our culture, this sort of encouraging nature that we have where the best ideas always win and they can come from anywhere. And we actually do stuff with it to bring it to market. And I think that's exciting for people. I think they see it. I think people talk about it. I think people know that we want it as an organization and we thrive on it. So I don't have to do a lot of work to foster that part of the culture because it's just here, right? That's just what we do.
I think it's the last part that you said maybe is the most important of how you actually bring it out. Sometimes companies they
Yeah.
have all this innovation and they don't launch it, and then these people who are creative just get deterred. Like, why go
Mhm.
if it's not coming out? Yeah,
Well, not all the ideas get brought to market either, though. So,
yeah,
sometimes the ideas are kind of out there. But that being said, the thread of a crazy idea can lead to something else. We've got a screen protection application system where we precision install a screen protector on a mobile device perfectly within seconds every time.
huh.
That started off as a really crazy idea. We were using things like blood pressure cuffs to apply pressure to the screen protector so that it would apply perfectly in the device. And over the iterations that we've got to over time, we have the solution now that you can find in some of the biggest retail locations in the world, providing that experience I was describing. But it started off with a crazy idea from Europe at the time that really wasn't practical in nature, but it sparked something. And then we got a hold of it, and we've been shipping and using that product, selling millions and millions of units over the past more than a decade. So that's an example of the kind of things that can happen around here.
It's amazing. How do you guys kind of deal with some of these like knockoff competitors? Because especially the space you're in when it comes to like battery packs and stuff like that. There are just so many different competitors and people making cheaper versions that flood the market. And some of them are not great. I've had experiences with battery packs that can be horrible and they just malfunction. But how do you kind of manage that and compete price point wise, production wise, all of that when it comes to these knockoffs?
Yeah, you're zeroing in on some of the biggest challenges that we face as an organization because over the last 40 years or more, we've kind of been trying to lead through innovation, quality, design, standing for things. And through that process, I think we've delivered some pretty amazing products. And I think when you're in that situation, it's not a surprise that people will be watching what's going on and trying to emulate those things and to do them faster, cheaper, whatever, however you want to think about that. So that target's kind of been on our back for a very, very long time. So we're accustomed to that. And, we don't like it, but we're comfortable and we recognize it and understand it. So what are we going to do? We spend a lot of time thinking about how do we stand out from the rest? We really care about the communities that we serve. We care here, right? We have, on-site campus where we host students and do internships to help them along. We invest in R&D and technology. I've talked a lot in this call already about our lab space and the commitment that we have towards testing and design and quality. And we care about sustainability. The environment is under pressure right now. We're a contributor to that. How are we going to reduce our footprint and offer better sustainability practices to the world for the products that we're bringing to market? So I just highlighted 3 principles. Those 3 principles kind of define our decision making. When you sprinkle in consumer insights and recognition of problems that people have with devices and how we can solve them, that's how we're trying to stand out. Through that process, we think we're going to deliver innovation. We think we're going to deliver differentiated products. We think we're going to deliver it in a premium nature at a high quality level that people can trust. That's the way that we're going to stand out. A Belkin product is going to be safe, right? That matters to people. And that combination of things we think is going to carry us forward, but we don't take that lightly. We know that we need to keep innovating and differentiating and challenge the market and bring new solutions, because as soon as we do that, someone's going to emulate that and we got to have the next one. So we're always kind of putting ourselves out of business in a sense with the latest products we brought to market, because we know we need to keep pushing forward and trying to differentiate and innovate.
Yeah, it's a very principled approach that you can see when you buy a product that there's a certain level and standard there that may not be present elsewhere, which is definitely great. When it comes to like launching new accessories and new products in general, I don't know, like how has the relationship evolved with some of these companies? Like, were you, or maybe earlier on, you were designing accessories once the device kind of came out, and you were just buying the device and figuring out how to do it, and then maybe now you have relationships with them, they tell you beforehand. How do you kind of control like that? Because there's, some companies like are really secretive about products and they don't want anybody knowing about them, and then you have to design stuff and get it ready before it comes out. How have those relationships with these companies kind of changed, and how important has that change been?
Yeah, we're always trying to stay at the forefront of these things. And I think that, regardless of how those relationships are working or how they've evolved, we recognize that we need to have a position that we want to take around what's coming next and anticipating those things. One way that we do that is we're very involved in the standards boards. So the standards boards are defining what the new wireless charging standards are going to be. We were at the inception of USB when it first started. So being, very early on in those processes to understand the standards that are being defined, having a voice in how they get done. All those things help contribute to us being able to anticipate what's coming next. And of course, then you have to design it, and then you need to engineer it, and you need to test it. We've been in a situation over the years, many times where I think we've solved really key critical engineering challenges with some of those, hardware products that we bring to market that our competitors benefit from. So it just is what it is. We want to be first. We want to be solving those problems. We want to be identified as a leader in those spaces. So, that's how we're doing it. We're showing up. We're offering our voice. We're engineering and designing in the best possible way that we can. And we're doing it in a highly collaborative way with our biggest partners to make sure that we're helping support their ecosystems. Because at the end of the day, consumers want to have a complete solution. And if we can be part of that, that's what we're trying to position ourselves to do. And, it's not an easy task. And, there's a lot of uncertainty around what we do at times, but we want to win, and we want to win more than we lose. And we're not always going to get it right, but we work really hard through that kind of approach to get it done.
Yeah. I'm sure you recall like when Apple did the big switch from Lightning to USB-C on devices, and that was a really big deal. What was that like for you guys? Kind of handling that, like was it a big boost in sales? Like what was it really difficult to kind of get things ready for something like that? Because it was a massive shift in company history, and it affected, I think, you guys pretty greatly.
Yeah, I think anytime you have a substantial shift like that, the 30 pin to the Lightning connector, the Lightning connector to USB, I talked about some of our principles before, communities and sustainability and R&D and tech. And then in some of those, kind of principles that we're thinking about, we want to help educate people on those changes. So a lot of people, my parents, they don't understand the difference between a Lightning connector and a USB-C connector. Like, What does that mean? I just plug it in and it works. It charges or it doesn't. It fits or it doesn't. Like, how do I know? So we spend a lot of time educating consumers and creating tools for consumers to be able to learn about these changes, to understand them. And then, of course, we're designing products to meet those needs. We love USB-C. We think it's a fantastic solution. The way that it works is amazing. The power that it unlocks is incredible. The flexibility around it is incredible. Of course, we've been big supporters of the Lightning products for many years, and that's been a great thing for us. Helping consumers understand and anticipate how these are going to change their lives is part of the quote unquote service that we want to provide as Belkin, and give them a reason to want to select our products and our brand, because they're going to learn from somebody they can trust. They're going to know that the products are going to work, that they're going to be properly tested, and they're going to be easy. And then we want to make people feel smart. Like, that's the goal for us, right? Technology is intimidating. I just want my stuff to work. How do we make it intuitive? How do we make people or help them feel smart as they're experiencing all those things? Those are the principles we're trying to apply to any kind of transition like that. And by the way, we love transitions, usually because it means that the technology is advancing. Things are going to get better over time. And it's an opportunity for us to help people, navigate those dynamics in an effective way. So we love it.
That's a good perspective, and the communication education aspect is really important. So it's great that you focus on that. And I'm sure it wins over a lot of customers, because people, like you mentioned, have no idea the difference at times with these things. What's kind of just the last question I have, like, what is your future aspirations now for Belkin and for you just as a business leader? Like, where do you want to take the company? What are some of maybe your short-term goals, long-term goals, and your just vision in general?
Yeah, I think, we talked about how Belkin has evolved over the last 40 plus years. We've needed to be in a position where we can react and adapt to the changes that are happening in technology, and to be able to do it quickly. And we have built our organization to anticipate those things, whether it's through the partnerships we've talked about or the investments we've made in engineering and design. We've got some of the closest relationships, I would argue, in the world with the retail partners and the channel partners globally. So that combination puts us in a pretty good position, I think, to be able to continue to grow and expand our business. Our goals are to grow and to expand and to develop even new products and new categories beyond what we're doing today. I mentioned early on, we think about these transitions and these sorts of expansion opportunities as an and scenario for us. We're pretty strong in cables. We're pretty strong in mobile power. We've got a good business in audio, and we want to grow into these new categories that we're targeting where we think we can add value. Mobile gaming is one of those areas right now that people are talking about a lot, where we recently announced some new products that we're bringing to market to support some of the latest devices, some of the maybe the best-selling ever devices in the world. So new category expansion for us, new channel expansion for us, continuing to deliver the promise that Belkin has, which is you're going to get a high-quality, premium product that's going to be trusted, safe, and work the way you expect. We just want to expand upon that. We want to do it in new categories and continue our growth plans.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good, Stephen. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think it's amazing what you've been able to accomplish here so far, and that we have a brand like you that's as high quality and really cares about the customers that they have. I mean, Belkin's my go-to brand in this space, and I'm just excited to see it continue to flourish and grow under what you've been doing in your leadership. So thanks for coming on, taking the time.
Thank you, Ben. We really appreciate your support and the opportunity to talk. Thank you.